All right, they only got one more phase till we get to where we see, but you can already start seeing it's quite a bit of work has been done in this tub already. Patch panels, hastily done, not at all. Matter of fact, this is dimpled all the way up into right underneath the lettering on it. So, and then the siding's pretty good. There's a crack that showed up right there on it, which it's hard to say. Was a little bit bummed to see the floor wavy like it is, but there's definitely, you know, some ideas we have for this. Driver's side floor, this one's pretty solid. It's got a couple areas that are coming apart here, but this isn't bad at all. These holes here were from that roll bar, so obviously those would get filled in. A couple holes that they did that I showed you from the bottom the other day, that they basically don't have the correct mounts on them, so they just drilled through and put a big ass washer and clamped it down. So definitely don't want to do it that way. So some of this stuff, and remember this piece here is all going to get unified into one kind of stamped piece of steel that will fill this all in because of that automatic we're doing. This still needs to be ribbed up and reinforced for the hanging pedals that we're doing on it. Lots of little holes. There's like more than these we kind of seen before, and they're all over the place. So, you know, a little bit of work, but definitely a lot of them. But these were weird, and this didn't show up until, this thing had more filler in it than I probably ever seen. But it's still it's a good tub. Had some weird stuff to it. So these were all the soft top buttons, and they weren't there because somebody had gone through and filled in some of them. Some of them might have been from other holes they had mounted, because there's a couple unnecessary ones they had here. But you can see the spot welds they did, and they're not a great job. I mean, this is rough. Not only is rough. So the problem with any old Jeep is that the rigidity of them is super rigid because of the frame and the leaf springs and whatnot. So it's you don't want a lot of filler in these. A little bit here and there is fine, but this thing had a lot. Like, you can just see it down the side here. If you get up to about that area there, you can start seeing how it starts dimpling in, almost wavy up there. So the corner back here, I'm not exactly sure what they were doing here, but there's a ton of patches here. And again, not very good job of the way they did it. Really had to, I mean, this thing was smooth, surprisingly, but it was crazy amount of filler that was on this thing to hide all this. And you can see it. I mean, it's just completely dimpled out in all these areas. So the corners are pretty beat up. So the next phase, obviously, we're going to get the primer on it, so we prevent it from flash rusting and whatnot. That's kind of the next phase that the shop does. The seams look great in here, so I wouldn't suggest a full side replacement, and mainly because you have to go aftermarket, and those aren't the best. They're tinny metal, so we want to keep the strength of this tub, just get it repaired the way that the way the shop would suggest doing it. So lower rocker looks awesome. I was happy with that. Again, you can kind of see there's that kind of a weird divot here, like almost like a wave. So typically that happens when it's been overloaded in the rear, you know, putting something heavy, carrying around as a utility versus just passengers. Passengers don't usually do this, but it could have been the way the seat was mounted, because they drilled straight through the tub and then just clamped on big ass fender washers. And doing that might have bent some things out. So same thing on this corner, you know, same patches, and really just not done very well in the beginning. But I think they just knew they were going to be using a ton of filler. So there's a huge patch there that was done. It's hard to say what exactly they were doing when they did this. It could have been rust that just kind of blew itself out. Somebody went through and did this. And I asked about, and we'll get to that later, but you know, what do we just cut this out and restart it? And they think they can clean this up. So, but you got more here, a couple deeper scratches that were in it. And then again, here you got another huge panel here that that was done, which again, they can clean this up. But look into this, you can see how much they've already put a lot of time in kind of getting this somewhat beat out, like whoever did this should have done. There's obviously still some more time that needs to get in here, but I kind of told them to stop because I didn't want to get sideways with this tub. So, you know, I wanted you to see it before they epoxy primer in it, because it's important. It will show days 2, and I'm going to have a market and then give us like a per kind of an hourly for each of these things. I, you know, expect little on the holes, but some of this might be a little bit more. But, you know, the problem is 70, 71. This is a 2-year only tub. So the one, I have another one of these, and we talked about that, but that one was wheeled in. And although it might not have a lot of the patches that this one has, I'm afraid that it is probably going to be way wavier along the sides, and it's going to end up, you know. So they're going to work on a number for me and get that primer put on, and then get back to me. Here's that floor, and this was about what we thought it was going to be. There was a couple extra areas that popped up around this thing. Not sure exactly what they had going on here. A little bit, you can kind of see. So we're thinking on this is probably just replace this section. Okay. This looks pretty good here. Don't think we'll have to mess with anything there. Where it's tying into this side out here is completely come apart. So here's your support here. We obviously want to make sure this is nice and structural. And you know, we kind of originally, when I talked to you, we were just going to go back to this roll bar, the factory one, and that's kind of what I'm okay. Still leaning towards, unless you're wanting to go back to a full cage, but maybe just like a cleaner build. We'd have to have that custom made. But there's several tube benders in town that work on roll bars, so that's something we can look at later. But let's see how this came out. This is awesome. So, I mean, nothing appeared here that, you know, these boxes are almost always bad. The channels, these are super solid. So I'm super excited about this. They need to clean it up a little bit, get the gaskets off. It sucks because these gaskets probably can't be replaced, so we'll have to use some different stripping on this stuff.
If you got a mechanic you want to take it to, I can take it over to Crawford. They're really good.
And then I think most of this is good. I want to say
something like that.
they'll have to show me if there's anything. I think that feels pretty good. Firewall, you know, it's going to be hidden, so don't probably have to do too much here. This portion is covered. This is part of the conversion that we're finishing up on, so really want to get this back over. This needs to be fixed here. That was cut out. And then, of course, the ribbing along the bottom. We talked, and I showed you that last time, and they kind of agree. I think it's cheaper in the long run just to replace these and do the spot welds back in them. And it's basically a whole sub total pocket channel. So, so yeah, so I'll have this one, and then also the one done when it's all black, and we'll get a quote on what
we'll need each other someday again.
Going to be at. A couple things too that might not show up very much in when they black it, but seams here. These are obviously seams from factory. These ones probably would leave alone, although we could fill this. But we did want to know if you wanted to. This
he
again
does
is
know
just
his
the way they
Toyota,
quote
so.
it. So here, it's factory this way, but because they've done so much in here, it might be easier to just have this all smoothed out. Okay, so that's it. I'll be giving you a shout when I get the other one done, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.